We're here to talk about The Forest.
Oh, yeah, that game's real good.
Yeah, you give it a 9.0.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot.
That's wild. What is this thing?
So the best way to think about it is take your standard sort of survival game. So, sort of like Rust and Don't Starve, that sort of thing.
And I know how much you love Rust.
I did not care for Rust.
Yeah, right.
But basically, you play a father who was on this plane that crashed in an opening that's like straight up from BioShock.
100%.
Yeah, 100% with your son who's not named Tim, but Timmy. And you end up on this island and you have to survive long enough to find your son. And you do that by, sort of building log cabins, hunting animals, doing sort of the same thing that you do in other survival games, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Hold on a second. Building a log cabin doesn't sound like urgency to find your son.
That's
like
step one.
You're setting up camp for the long haul.
No, you don't understand. His son loves log cabins. He's attracted to them in the forest. He'll follow wherever he gets the weird waft.
And the enemies are terrified of them.
But it's complicated because there are cannibals on this island, and they want to, do as cannibals do and eat you. And they are actually under the island. They hide in caves and stuff, and they come out to hunt you. So what makes them interesting is they're not like your typical sort of enemy AI. They don't just surge at you. They are kind of unpredictable in that, like, for example, in the opening hours of the game, like I was running around just picking berries, trying to figure out which ones were poisoned and which ones weren't.
Yeah. And lost in the woods, step one.
Yeah. And then I ran into one. And
was he also picking berries?
Oh, yeah, he was naked and hunting like a boar or something.
Ooh, yeah, don't pick those berries, boys.
Oh, Lord. So he surged at me and then stopped right in front of my face and then ran off. And then they'll do that. They'll just sort of like run around you, scream at you. Sometimes they'll attack you, like they'll hit you like 3 times, sizing you up, and then they'll run away.
That's cool.
And then, no, this is the scary part. They'll bring back a war party, like 3 or 4 other guys. It's really unpredictable and spooky, and it's consistently that way.
Hold on.
Wild.
All naked?
Most of them are naked.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm
good.
I'm in.
That's the way it should be. Yeah. So, Leo, you played a little bit of this in early access, right?
Yeah, I played like 10 hours in early access and a few more hours last night. I really like it. I think the enemies do a lot because it's not so much it's combining like action and crafting the way so many survival games do. It's more like it's a survival game that's set in a horror movie.
Yeah.
And there's like the constant threat of these creatures while you're just doing your daily... Gotta make sure I can eat, gotta make sure I can drink. And then just sometimes someone will like sneak up on you, and it makes the whole experience really tense and good.
Yeah, the weirdest thought that I had while playing the game was like, this is like an adaptation of The Descent, that movie from 2005.
Except not in a cave?
No, it's in the caves. There are caves that you like, spelunk into, and you have to like search for. It's where you'll find the most valuable items, and plus like the narrative stuff that helps you progress through the story and find out, okay, what's going on with this island?
Okay, why
are so many planes crashing here? Where the hell is my son? That sort of thing. Why have the cannibals not eaten him?
Right. Where are their clothes?
Yeah. Actually, there are clothes everywhere because there's littered across the island since there have been plane crashes. Multiple plane crashes, actually. It gets explained.
Okay.
Kind of.
So it's like Lost.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of Lost. There are luggage sort of like bags that you can open up by hitting them with your axe, which is really satisfying. And you can find clothes that like give you no defensive like statistic boost or anything. They're just there, so you can like find these khakis and Hawaiian shirt. Wear
yoo-hoo, cannibals, yoo-hoo.
Yeah.
So I started up the last couple nights, and I've tried playing it. It seems to have a tough time onboarding people. Like, am I just stupid? Like, it was a lot of, okay, I'll build a little lean-to, little shelter here. But in terms of like the larger idea, I'm having a tough time. Like, I was even trying to like chop logs for way too long about like, how do I build this? And then eventually got the structure for a cabin. But then it said I needed 93 giant logs to build this. Like, am I just supposed to go chop down one tree at a time, put it on my shoulder like Paul Bunyan, walk it all the way over there and build that?
No, because you can also build, like, first of all, you don't have to build that cabin. Like, that's the mansion. If you want to hang like...
Look, I'm not going to go live in the woods, not in a mansion. Are you high?
No, like if you want to hang, it's real fun. I brought poor Jeff Cork over to my desk like 2 days into this review, and I said, Cork, you gotta look at this. And then I showed him like a very sort of twisted MTV Cribs look at my cabin. I walked him in, and hanging all around were like skull lamps that I had literally taken from my foes. Like, I'd burned their bodies, eaten their flesh, because I had become a cannibal myself to stay alive.
This is where the debauchery happens.
Yeah. And then, held up, turned their skulls into lamps. And then across like the walls were sort of like the skins of deers that I had hunted and stuff. And then in the very back, there's a trophy hanging over my bed, which is a human head.
Was it your son's human head?
No.
Oh, damn it.
But it reminds you
But
of your
you
son
can
and it gives you
decorate.
hope.
You can decorate next to the human head if you want. You can find your son's drawings throughout like the island and just like post them in your cabin, so you can put them next to like the really twisted stuff.
Have you seen this boy?
You
He drew
don't
himself
need
here.
any twisted. You shouldn't have twisted stuff in your habitat.
You need a little.
Yeah.
No.
So this is out on PC now, 1.0 version on PC. They say it's coming to PS4 sometime this year.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see how that console version will work because the inventory stuff isn't like as cumbersome as other survival games because the way it's presented is really cool. I particularly like the crafting system because
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
wild
just
looking.
a series of menus. It's like, oh, here's a giant blanket. You can see all of your items littered around your crafting sort of square, and you can just put them in there. And the way you find out, like, oh, combinations of items is by just trying stuff.
And
Like,
the weird thing too is like they all have physics in this crafting menu. So you're like mousing over things and they kind of like jitter around and whatnot. It's a weird UI.
I like it though because it makes it feel it's just so different than like the vast majority. Like even Flame of the Flood, which I thought was pretty cool and different. Like you're still like, oh well, here's like a menu that I'm looking at to combine items, and it just makes the whole process feel more intimate, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and it is a little weird. The game's a little bit janky, but not in. I'd heard that the alpha had like lots of game-breaking bugs. Maybe Leo can speak to that since he played the early version. But now, like the only bugs I encountered were like of the Skyrim variety of like I hit a squirrel with a katana and his body went flying across the island and into the ocean.
It's just good stuff.
Yeah,
Like
it's
that
just
side
But
of
you
the
need
case
to
stuff.
eat that.
I mean, they're all around.
He's got skulls to suck on whatever the hell's going on in
But
this
like
cabin.
the game's got a really weird, twisted, kind of gross sense of humor that I'm actually into too. Like if you kill enemies, not only can you eat them, but you get their teeth every time you slap them around. Like, and you can
Slap them around.
yeah, with like whatever weapon, like including a stick. Like even if you hit them with a stick, their teeth fall out.
Once you
And-
get good at it, you just hit them in the head and catch their teeth as they fly out
Yeah,
of their head.
Really?
Yeah, it's great.
No, for real. And then on the crafting menu, you make even like your weapons, like your axe that you get, you make them stronger by welding human teeth onto them.
Can I make a teeth mansion?
I don't know.
I doubt it. Okay.
I don't know. But
Be a lot of teeth.
Make some monuments to teeth, I think. Teeth-shaped objects.
Okay,
Yeah,
maybe that'll attract more teeth.
yeah, and I mean, you can make a lot of gross stuff with body parts. Like you can build like sort of scarecrowed effigies that you set on fire that are just like the limbs and like severed heads of your enemies to scare foes away.
I love that. That's so cool. But even after, a fair amount of time playing, at least I thought so, I didn't see a single enemy. I had a heart attack because there was a deer that like I turned around and suddenly a deer was on the other side of this bush. That scared me. But is there like a certain story beat you have to hit before these things are out there?
I think once you find your first cave and and this is just speculation for me, but like what I noticed is I found my first cave, went down, explored it for a little bit, realized, oh, it's super dark and all I have is my finicky lighter. I should come back later. I started running into foes all the time. So I think it's either you run into your first cave or you spend enough days in game where the game's like, okay, you've had enough time. We're going to start, filling the world with more enemies.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so you get these sort of roaming packs that come at night and during the day. And it's to me, it's one of those rare cases where it's just as much fun to avoid them as it is to like sort of take them on because they are dangerous.
I love that.
They are super dangerous.
What happened for me is I had played this game in early access, so I knew what the early game was like, and I was like, this time I was thinking, what else could I do? And I was scrolling through the building stuff, and I was like, I'm just going to build a houseboat. It's what I always wanted. I'm going to
Houseboat.
focus on it from day one and get this houseboat.
Get off the island.
Yes. And so I barely saw any enemies, and I walked my way to the beach, put in the blueprint for the houseboat, and I just started working on it day and night. I would sleep in like this tent that
like
just
Gilligan's
happened to be hanging
Island.
out. Yeah.
What a fantasy.
And then a coconut hit him on the head and he forgot all about the houseboat.
And it took me 2 days of like sleeping and hunting in between, just 2 days of work to build this houseboat. And I finally got it. And then I houseboat over to where my tent was. And I go in. I'm like, I need to dry off a little bit. Let me spend some time by the fire. And then like one cannibal showed up. And I tried to fight them off, but then like 5 more cannibals showed up, and so I had to run back to my houseboat and just like paddle out to the middle of the water with all these cannibals like silhouetted in the darkness on the shoreline.
So good.
And
I
they
was
just keep making noises at you, right?
Terrifying
Like they go,
noises.
Yeah.
And I was just pouring through my materials like, what can I craft? Can I build a bed? Like, can I even sleep on this boat? And then I realized I had to go back in before the night was even over and find some food, or else I was going to starve.
Just fish.
Another thing that's worth
couldn't
talking
do
about,
anything.
though, is like the survival meters feel better. I think they're optimized really well because there are a lot of survival games, and I like the genre. I feel like a fair amount more than most people. Like I'm willing to deal with like the tediousness, but they're optimized really well in here. It's not like necessarily a case where you're constantly working to fill like 3 meters that are overbearing masters.
Totally.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that.
Even compared to like Subnautica, which reminds me in some ways of that I played a lot of this year. It's like, oh man, I haven't had to worry about food hardly at all in the forest so far, which is crazy.
Yeah. And once you set up like base and really get to a point where, you not only have your cabin or whatever, you're living in, even if it's a trash tent, you can also like build other structures that make your life so much easier in that game, like the sled for the logs. So you can like pile
interesting.
logs into a sled, so you're not just like constantly like Paul Bunyaning it, like
Yeah.
you said. You can build a drying rack where you hang meat, both of the human and animal kind, that will dry the meat so you can carry it around with you all the time and it will never spoil.
Yeah.
Which is helpful. You can build a water collector out of a turtle shell, or if you don't want to necessarily like use that turtle shell for a water collector, you could always do a Breath of the Wild sort of thing and go sledding on it.
That's a good time.
Yeah.
Reiner, let me sell this game to you. What if I told you night in this game was night as all hell? Like there's that weird community in amongst gamers where they love a good dark night. Like Dragon's Dogma people liked for that reason. And that was a big thing. Maybe the brightness on my monitor was all effed up, but like night in this game is terrifyingly dark. And I love games like that.
So if you have any glare on your TV, you're screwed.
Yeah, pretty much.
That kind of that's too much.
Especially when it comes to PS4 and you got the controller light going off the TV. It's going to be a whole thing.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Also, just on the very simple aspect of this game, you do a lot of it, so I hope it would feel good, but felling a tree in this game feels amazing.
Yeah, no, I
It is
love
so
watching
cool.
The Ring.
It's just slowly, just one shot at a time, that slowly will fall over. Unfortunately, early on in the game, I built a little crappy lean-to before I got around to my mansion. And then I was just going around felling trees because, it looks so great. And then, of course, one lands exactly on my lean-to and just shatters it. Great.
How's the sound?
Very
Is there
good.
the
it's
cracking?
terrifying.
Well, no, of the tree going down. Is there the cracking?
Yeah, there's the cracking.
Very good.
And then the impact.
Got everything you want, baby.
Oh, man.
Plus, you chop it and you'll notice the point where it's not connected at all and it's about to fall. And then what I like to do is like get the right angle and jump and hit my body against it and push it in the direction I want it
That's
to go.
what lumberjacks learned to do.
Yeah.
That's
Shoulder
how they
bump
speed
all
up
the
their
time.
production. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
One more thing I definitely want to talk about, speaking of sound, is the sound design in this game is real good. Because often, you'll be sort of, especially at night, you'll be in the woods hunting something and you'll hear like the crunch of a leaf behind you. And you'll be wondering, okay, was that a rabbit? Or was that something big and nasty? Because there's, not to get too heavy into spoilers, but there's more than cannibals in this game. Like there's,
Dinosaurs.
Angels.
let's go with angels, like really bad angels.
Oh, God, no.
That
baseball team, right? Why not? Hey, forget about it.
that are sort of terrifying to deal with.
Yeah.
But so yeah, especially late game and when you're in the caverns too, like every sound, it's up there with Alien Isolation for me in terms of like, what did I just hear? Like making me wonder. And then like my reaction going, being to go huddle in a corner and just wait like 1 to 2 minutes to see what comes by.
Finding the corner of the forest.
Yeah.
You've got to craft a bathtub to hide in.
But it's a really good game. I would recommend if you have a decent PC gameplay specs. I don't think it requires like a super tough or super powered rig.
No. Also, it's 1 gigabyte, which is weird.
Really?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, 1.3 gigabyte.
Must use Speed Tree.
But even if you're tired of survival games in general, I'd recommend checking it out because its horror elements are super good, like consistently compelling.
So I should get over the hump and
Yeah, you
stop
should
being a
get
little
over the
baby.
hump.
Okay.
Yeah, stop being a baby. Exactly.
All right,
My
all right.
words, exactly.
The
Sounds
forest.
cool.
Yeah, looking
Yeah.
forward to playing more. Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.